At my retirement celebration, I discovered my daughter-in-law's hidden secret. It changed everything. The aromas of fried comfort food filled the air, wrapping around Tom like a warm blanket on a chilly night. He sat in the corner booth of the old diner, obscured by the chatter of friends and family. Laughter poured from every direction, spilling like syrup from the amber bottle, sweetening the occasion. As the glasses clinked, he couldn't help but feel the weight of 30 years of dedication swirling in the mix. Today was supposed to be a celebration, but his heartfelt smile masked a heavy heart weighed down by nostalgia that he had worked hard to build a life grounded in commitment and stability. He poured his heart into teaching, molding young minds with the same tenacity that guided him in family life. As Tom surveyed the jubilant scene around him, he could see the faces of his former students amongst the guests, those who had fulfilled their dreams because of him. Yet here he was, feeling adrift. This chapter was ending, and uncertainty loomed ahead. As the party carried on, Tom slipped away into the quieter hallway, the sounds of joy becoming muted music in the background. It was then that he overheard snippets of conversation that jolted him from his reverie. "Sarah's been doing incredible work," a familiar voice chimed in. His heart quickened. What was this about his daughter-in-law? With his heart racing, Tom edged closer, his ears straining to catch every whispered word. Sarah had quietly launched a mentorship program for at-risk youth. It wasn't just some idle talk. She had crafted this lifeline from nothing, driven by her own turbulent childhood and a burning desire to transform lives. His heart dropped. How could she? The very values he held dear, the ones he instilled in his family's safety, a reliable paycheck, the American dream, were being challenged by her fearless path. Pride swirled with confusion, and Tom felt like he was walking a tightrope. The contrast was jarring. Why hadn't she told anyone? Why keep such a monumental achievement hidden? The festive mood shifted, tension rising like dough in the warm oven. Tom returned to his family, begrudgingly wrestling with his feelings. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Suddenly, he spotted Sarah laughing with guests, her vibrant spirit radiating hope. The warmth she exuded felt alien. It reminded him of the countless hours he invested in teaching, guiding, and sacrificing. How could she have strayed so far from his ideals? As his heart raced, he felt the urgency to confront her. "Sarah!" He called out, his voice wavering but resolute, drawing her attention. "Why didn't you tell us? Why hide it?" The words poured out thick with confusion and hurt. Her smile wavered as she met his eyes, bright yet shadowed by unspoken struggles. "Because, Tom, I knew you wouldn't understand. I had to do this." The air crackled with tension. His beliefs clashed with her fervor, leaving a chasm between them. Tom stood there, torn between wanting to embrace her bravery and a deep-seated need to protect the values he had cherished all his life. As guests began to murmur, sensing the shift, a question echoed in Tom's mind: could he bridge the gap between tradition and compassion? Would love conquer the stubborn divide that had formed? The chapter of their lives hung in the balance, anticipation crackling like static in the air. Would Tom find the courage to embrace the new legacy that Sarah exemplified? Tom took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle over him. The laughter and cheers from the party felt miles away as he stared into Sarah's eyes, a galaxy of emotions swirling between them. It was more than just a secret now, it was a collision of their hopes, fears, and principles. I thought we were all about supporting one another, about sharing our dreams." Tom stumbled over his words, the confusion gnawing at him. "You could have trusted me with this, Sarah." Her gaze softened, and for a heartbeat, he saw the little girl she once was. The one who fought tirelessly to prove her worth. It reminded him so much of how he had struggled when he first started teaching, wrestling with doubts and carrying anxiety on his shoulders. But I knew you'd think I was crazy. A mentorship program? It sounds so naive, doesn't it? Sarah's laughter was tinged with sadness, pulling at Tom's heartstrings. I didn't want you to see me as chasing unrealistic dreams. Tom's chest tightened. Was that really how she saw him? As a man tethered to rigid ideals? He had always tried to reinforce the importance of stability and security, but never had he considered that maybe that could stifle someone's spirit. Did he truly believe that dreams had to fit within a box? Sarah, he said, feeling a shift within him, maybe it's time I learned something from you instead. He could see the flicker of surprise in her eyes, like tiny sparks igniting hope. It took everything in him to drop the walls he had built, the ones that told him to stick to what was safe. I didn't mean to deny you this beautiful journey. It scares me, he admitted, his voice trembling with vulnerability. It goes against everything I thought I knew. I've been scared too, Tom. But this is not just about me. It's about our family and the change we can create. Her determination was palpable, and Tom felt the rush of admiration hitting him like a wave. Surrounding laughter died down, and the din of the party faded, drifting into the background as their conversation took center stage. The atmosphere felt electric, charged with evolving understanding. I want to support you, I really do, but I just can't wrap my mind around it, Tom confessed, the feeling of being caught between worlds hanging heavily. Then he watched her transform before him, her demeanor shifting from apprehensive to resolute. You can choose to join me, Tom. Or you can watch from the sidelines. The challenge hung in the air, a gauntlet thrown down. By now, the other guests had caught notice, their amused chatter morphing into hushed whispers. It was a moment that would echo in his heart forever. There was something liberating in that gaze, a daring invitation to step out into the unknown. The question of who Tom had been loomed large, but more gripping was the vision of who he could become. Do it. Inspire others like you've inspired me, Sarah urged, her eyes sparkling with hope. The room felt charged, swollen with possibilities and dreams just waiting to take flight. Yet in this whirlwind, Tom felt tethered to a fundamental worry and nagging fear that they were on the brink of tearing their family apart, clashing ideals battling for dominance. Taking a step back, the reality of family loyalty met personal aspirations. Could opening his heart to Sarah's choices heal the fractures they already faced? Could supporting her lead to a renewal of purpose for both of them? His breath hitched as a thought crystallized. Was this party indeed a celebration of endings, or an unexpected opening of new beginnings? As he gazed into Sarah's sincere eyes, the questions hung on the precipice of transformation, one that would not only reshape their relationship but redefine his understanding of legacy. Just then, a loud crash interrupted their moment, followed by a jovial shout from a gathering group. Their smiles flashed, and a cacophony of congratulations and excitement surged around them. Yet Tom's heart beat for something deeper. A venture into possibility woven with love, support, and the bonds of family. What would he choose to do in the coming days? Would he find the courage to step forward alongside Sarah into the unfamiliar? As laughter enveloped him like a warm embrace, Tom felt the tide turning. The real adventure was just beginning. And somehow, he knew this wouldn't just be about Sarah anymore, it would be about them both discovering what it truly meant to dream together. But one question lingered in the air: would Tom have the strength to embrace not only a new beginning but also the uncertainties that came with it? The energy in the room shifted, a current of excitement mixed with tension swirling around Tom and Sarah. He could sense the eyes of their friends on them, but his focus was solely on her. She looked vibrant, alive with the passion he admired. It was then that he realized just how much he had underestimated the dreamer in her. Tom, Sarah said, breaking the momentary silence that surrounded them. There's so much more we can do. We can help so many people. Her voice was steady, filled with a belief that echoed through him. He couldn't help but want to believe. What about the risk? He asked, half-heartedly needing reassurance. What if it all falls apart? Sometimes, you need to leap before you know where you'll land. She stepped closer, her eyes turning fierce with purpose. And if we fall, we do it together. That's what family is for. The words hung in the air, settling in his bones. Family. The word brought warmth and worry intermingled. Was he ready to shatter the status quo? He thought about the lives they could touch, about the legacy he had always envisioned. But what good was that vision if he couldn't adapt, support the passion of the family he loved? A cheer erupted from the partygoers as someone else upended a table, laughter spilling forth like an exhilarating release. It drew him back to the moment, distracting him, but not for long. "Let us walk outside," Tom suggested, feeling the urgency to talk without the prying ears of their friends. Sarah nodded, their silence speaking volumes as they wove through the crowded room. He noticed the playful shivers of laughter and music clung to them even as they stepped onto the cool patio. The night air felt refreshing against his skin. It was quieter out here, yet alive. The stars shimmered above, and he realized he hadn't just walked out here to escape the crowd. It was a chance to find clarity. "Do you really believe in this?" Tom finally asked, breaking the stillness. He sought not just her answer, but the truth behind it. "I do," she replied without hesitating. "I believe there are too many people out there struggling. We have the opportunity to make a difference. It's possible, Tom. We can give them hope." Hope. A simple word, but it twisted something deep within him. His fears began to ache against a budding realization, maybe that's what had been missing in his life and in their family. Hope inspired dreams, and dreams inspired action. It was time for everyone including him to feel the pull of possibility. "Together, then?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. The terms felt heavy and light all at once. "Together," she smiled, relief washing over her features. It was like bursting sunshine after a storm. But his heart still wrestled with doubt. Even now, another thought clawed at him. What if their venture didn't just challenge him but shattered the comfort zone he'd built so carefully? Could he let that go? "Okay, what's our first step?" he asked with an air of determination, feeling his courage build like a silent drumbeat. Sarah's eyes sparkled as she began to share her vision, planting seeds of ideas that danced in the air between them. Tom listened, and as her words painted a brighter future, possibilities began to blossom in his heart. He realized he could be part of something larger than himself. For the first time, the idea scared him in a good way. However, just then, Sarah glanced over his shoulder, and her face dropped slightly. He turned to follow her gaze, noticing a figure lingering at the edge of the patio. Michael, his brother. There was an expression on his face that sent a chill through Tom's realization. "Why is he here?" Tom mumbled, anxiety creeping back in. "Tom," Sarah whispered, urgency in her words, "I think he heard everything." His heart sank. Could their family handle the truths he was just beginning to embrace? As Michael stepped forward, determination in his stride, Tom faced the unwelcome twists of fate. Would this confrontation bring clarity, or would it end in conflict? A new weight settled upon him, intertwining with the promise of hope and the reality they were about to face. "Tom!" Michael called, his voice low but commanding. He had a way of cutting through the air that made people pay attention. Tom's heart raced as the distance between them closed. "Hey, Michael," Tom replied, forcing a smile, but fear twisted in his gut. "What is going on here?" Michael's eyes darted between Tom and Sarah, suspicion evident. "I could sense something different in the air when I walked up." Tom felt the weight of Sarah's presence beside him. She stood firm, her expression a mix of defiance and support. "We were just talking about things that matter," Sarah interjected, her voice steady. "About how we want to make a difference." Michael frowned, crossing his arms. "Make a difference? What does that even mean?" A crowd began to gather around them, sensing the tension shift from the lively party atmosphere. Tom glanced at their friends, watching intently, and it struck him. Here was a moment that didn't merely belong to him, it belonged to everyone involved. Look, it's not about what it means to you, Tom replied, feeling the heat rise within him. It's about what we believe we can change. Together. It's time to step outside of our safe little bubbles. Your safe bubble. Michael shot back. What makes you think you can just drag everyone else into your ideas? What you're talking about isn't just charity, it's a commitment and a risk, one that could hurt all of us if you fail. The air grew heavier as people murmured amongst themselves. Tom felt Sarah inch closer, as though her spirit might shield him from the arrows being thrown. We have the chance to help those who barely get by. Can't you see that? She urged, her voice rising above the noise. Help? Or just a pipe dream? Michael challenged, his gaze unwavering. Just because it sounds good doesn't mean it's doable. Tom felt his heart sink. This wasn't just an argument, it was a revelation of their differences. But frustration had transformed into determination. Maybe it is a pipe dream. And maybe it won't be easy. But who are we if we don't try? What's the point of just existing? As he spoke, more people began to close in, directed by curiosity and a sense of something building. The spark of hope ignited within him. If others felt this too, could they all resonate with the same desire to change? Listen, it's not about us against each other. Sarah insisted, her passion electrifying the air. This is about creating something bigger, a family, a community. If you can't see that, then what does that say about us? Michael's expression wavered. For a moment, Tom thought he saw a flicker of doubt in his brother's eyes. But what if it fails? He asked, quieter now. Then we fail together, Tom said, swallowing hard. But at least we tried. Isn't that better than sitting on the sidelines? The crowd felt the shift. Tom could see his friends' expressions shifting from skepticism to intrigue. They wanted to believe, just as he did. The weight of his family's legacy loomed large, but suddenly it didn't feel so oppressive. Imagine the lives we could affect. Sarah stepped forward, her genuine smile illuminating the night. At least let's explore the possibilities together. A heavy silence lingered for a moment, drawing out the tension like a stretch of wire. Michael loosened his stance, uncertainty written across his face. Okay, I hear you, he finally said, almost reluctant, as though he were grappling with wrestling a monster within. Just then, someone in the crowd called out, why not? Let's see what you got. A cheer rose up, and Tom felt a wave of relief and energy swell around him. The crowd was on the edge, ready for something different. But before anyone could react, Michael took a step back, shaking his head. Just remember, everything has its consequences, he warned, turning away. Tom felt the breath leave him. Was this something more to fear? The excitement was still swirling, but Michael's words lingered like a storm cloud. With every step Michael took away from them, Tom wrestled with doubt and hope. Had they really stepped into something they couldn't control? Or had they just opened a door to their family's future? As the night unfolded, Tom realized they were standing on the precipice, ready to leap into the unknown. Little did he know, there would be more secrets and revelations waiting just around the corner. The celebration transformed into a pulsating space, alive with chatter and laughter. Tom stood at the center of it all, feeling the weight of everyone's gaze. Some friends nodded at him, their expressions shifting from skepticism to belief. Each cheer felt like a small spark, igniting the resolve deep within him. But Michael's warning hung in the air, steady and cold, like a backdrop to an otherwise colorful picture. Okay, so what's next? Sarah asked, her eyes bright, reflecting the enthusiasm of the others. Tom glanced around, absorbing the energy of the crowd. We need to spread the word. Connect with people who share our vision. We need a plan. Let's brainstorm right now. Someone from the crowd shouted, and it triggered a ripple of excitement. A few began pulling out phones, offering to create a group chat dedicated to the project. Amid the chaotic enthusiasm, Tom caught Michael lingering on the edge of the crowd. His brother's expression, caught between apprehension and curiosity, made Tom's heart ache. Was Michael really against the idea, or was he just afraid of the storm it could bring into their lives? "Michael!" Tom called out, breaking through the chatter. "Why don't you join us? We need your voice too." All eyes turned to Michael, waiting for his response. The moment stretched like a taut string, the collective breath held hostage by worry. "No thanks," Michael said, his voice firm yet distant. "I'll stick to reality, not dreams." With that, he turned on his heel, disappearing into the night, leaving a heaviness draped over Tom. For a fleeting moment, uncertainty swept through him. Was he indeed chasing a dream? He took a deep breath, shaking off the fear. He couldn't let it anchor him down. The energy shifted back as Sarah stepped in, her presence lighting a fire in Tom's heart. "Let us focus on the people who believe in us," she said, urgency in her voice. "We can't force anyone to leap with us." Nods of agreement rippled through the crowd. It was like they were all linked together by a fragile but growing hope, and Tom felt it thrum in his veins. As the discussions grew animated, ideas flew across the air. What could they do? A fundraiser? A community service day? Maybe even a full-blown campaign? With every suggestion, Tom watched enthusiasm bloom on their faces, the night quietly morphing into plans that could change lives. "Tom, I have an idea," one friend called. "Why don't we partner with the local shelters? They're always in need of supplies and funding." "That's brilliant," Sarah chimed in. "Let us get started on making contacts right away." Tom's spirit soared as conversation started swirling around him like a whirlwind, each suggestion adding another thread to the fabric they were weaving together. But suddenly, a voice cut through the buzz. "Hold on." It was Michael again. He had returned, standing back at the edge, but this time the tension in his expression seemed different, more contemplative. "What if you fail? I still think it's reckless." The weight of his words fell like a heavy stone. But inside, Tom found his determination burning brighter. "Michael, we might fail, but what if we don't? What if we touch even a few lives?" Michael's brows furrowed, and Tom saw a flash of conflict in his eyes. "It's not that simple." "Actually, it is," Sarah interjected, stepping forward. "It's about taking that first step, even if we stumble. We can't keep waiting for the perfect moment." Tom turned to Michael, feeling the weight of brotherly love mingled with frustration. "Join us, even if it's just to keep an eye on us. We need strong voices like yours." Michael's hesitation hung thick in the air. Tom could see it. He was at a crossroads. The choices stretched before him like paths through a dense forest. As the crowd began to chatter again, Tom felt the anticipation growing. What would Michael decide? Would he step into the light or stay hidden in the shadows of doubt? The night pulsed with potential, thick with possibility, but also hesitation. Would they truly embrace this leap into the unknown, and could it unite them, or would it tear them apart forever? Michael stood there, caught between two worlds. The laughter and excitement of the crowd on one side, the storm of his doubts on the other. His heart raced as the voices melded into a cacophony that felt both inviting and overwhelming. Every moment felt magnified, as if the fate of their plans rested solely on his next words. "Michael, we could use your help to make this work," Tom said, desperation creeping into his tone. He stepped closer to his brother, his eyes pleading. "This isn't just about us. It's about the community. Trust me, we can make a difference." The fire in Tom's voice ignited something in Michael, yet he struggled to find his footing. What if Tom was right? What if they really could change lives? "Look, I don't want to see you get hurt," Michael said at last, his voice softening. "I'm just trying to protect you." "Protect me from what?" "From trying to make a difference." Tom shot back, the frustration boiling beneath the surface. You're afraid of failure, but what's worse, trying and failing or doing nothing? Everyone around them had fallen silent, glued to the unfolding drama. Michael's chest tightened as he registered the weight of his brother's plea. Before he could respond, Sarah chimed in. Michael, think about the people we could uplift. The families that need support. We can't let fear stop us. Her eyes sparkled with an intensity that almost made Michael believe this could work. The fear in his gut swelled. Would standing with them mean abandoning his caution? He glanced toward the crowd, their hopeful faces shining with expectation. Suddenly, he saw not just his brother but a community's dreams resting on that thin line of faith. Okay, he heard himself say, words tumbling out before he could overthink them. I'll help. Relief washed over Tom, and a cheer erupted from the crowd. But Michael's heart was tangled. This choice felt bigger than just a project. It meant being vulnerable, embracing uncertainty, and letting go of his steadfast grip on reality. The energy shifted back to the excitement of planning. Ideas flourished like wildflowers. They were alive, vibrant, and hopeful, even as the shadows of doubt gripped Michael. Every thoughtful suggestion pushed him further into uncharted territory, igniting a flicker of hope mixed with apprehension. Fundraisers, awareness events, and outreach programs. We can do it all. Tom's enthusiasm was infectious. Then let us set a date for our first meeting, Sarah suggested, taking charge. We can tackle logistics, get volunteers, and coordinate with the shelters. Just then, a sudden thought hit Michael like a bolt of lightning. Wait. We need a website. A platform to reach more people. If we're serious about this, we can't just rely on word of mouth. Tom spun around, the thrill in his face undeniable. Great idea. You're fully in, then? Michael hesitated as pride swelled in him. He could already feel the barriers he'd built around himself beginning to crumble. I guess so. Let us just make sure we're prepared for anything. Right. Tom exclaimed, his smile radiant. Together, we can tackle any challenge. As plans took formation and excitement flooded the crowd again, Michael suppressed a wave of uncertainty. He was stepping onto a path that felt as fragile as the shadows fading with the sun. Not everyone believed in them, but what if they could spark a change that rippled outwards? The night went on, filled with discussions and laughter, but Michael couldn't shake the gnawing feeling at the back of his mind. What if their efforts weren't enough? What if they failed to make a real impact? As he looked at Tom, laughing and engaged, he knew one choice had thrown them both into a journey neither of them could foresee. But sometimes, taking the leap meant embracing the messiness of hope. As the evening drew to a close, Tom turned to Michael, excitement lighting up his face. So, when do we start? Michael took a breath, feeling the weight of his decision settle. Tomorrow. And as the crowd began to disperse, one thought lingered: was he ready to face the storm of what that commitment truly meant? The next morning arrived with a thickness in the air that matched Michael's apprehension. He got up early, the sun creeping through the blinds casting striped shadows across his room. He couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change, not just for him, but for everyone involved. He spent the early hours in his kitchen, staring at a half-empty cup of coffee while his mind raced. Ideas and fears tangled together like a messy ball of string. What if they didn't have enough support? What if no one cared? They had big dreams, but were they just dreams? When he met Tom and Sarah later at the community center, the atmosphere buzzed with energy. It felt like a battle of optimism against doubt, and in that moment, hope appeared to carry the day. Tom was deep in conversation with an older couple who looked eager to lend a hand, while Sarah scribbled notes on a flip chart, her brows furrowed in concentration. "Morning, Michael." Tom called out, breaking away from the couple and flashing his brother a confident smile. "We've got a lot to cover today. People are excited." "Yeah, I see that," Michael said, forcing a smile. But his heart tripped as he took in the surroundings. The room filled with tables, chairs, and old decorations began to feel like a theater stage for a play in which he didn't know his lines. Sarah beckoned him over, pointing to her notes. "Here's what we can do. A fundraiser on Saturday. People can donate supplies, food, anything they can spare." The idea settled in Michael's gut, heavy but familiar. "We need a solid plan and a team," he said, trying to focus. "Logistics are going to be crucial if we want this to happen." Tom's eyes lit up. "Exactly. We can split the responsibilities. You're good at organizing things." At that, a flicker of excitement emerged in Michael's chest. He thought about his years spent organizing events and managing people. Maybe he could do this. Maybe he was capable of more than he believed. As discussions flared up around him, Michael saw faces filled with purpose. It began to dawn on him that these people were not just looking for help. They needed a leader, someone to guide them. And perhaps, that someone might be him, but the deeper he dove into planning, the louder the nagging questions in his mind grew. Did he really have what it took? What if he let them down? As the group wrapped up their meeting, Michael found himself contemplating how to transform his fears into drive. "All right, let us get this thing started," he said, feeling a change surging through him. Was it courage? Or the thrill of a distant dream inching closer? Excitement bubbled up. He thought back to how he had felt the night before, when he took that leap. He had chosen to accept the uncertainty with open arms, and here he was, on the edge of possibility, but just as the meeting was about to conclude, there was a new voice. A soft one, but it cut through the chatter like a knife. "Michael, can we talk?" It was Maria, a woman from the local shelter. Her expression was serious. "Sure, what's up?" he asked, dread pooling in his stomach. "It's about the shelters." She hesitated, glancing around as if ensuring no one else was listening. "I think there is something you need to know." His heart skipped. What could be so urgent? Michael felt an electric jolt of fear. Was this about their plans? Or something darker? With the community behind him and secrets slipping through the cracks, he took a step forward. He had chosen this path, after all. Little did he know, what he was about to hear would shake everything he thought he knew. "Okay, Maria, I'm listening." Words that could potentially change everything lay ahead, resting on the edge of those simple invitations to listen. Maria took a breath, her eyes darting nervously around the room before locking onto Michael's. He could see the weight of her words pressing down on her shoulders. The room had quieted, the chatter fading into an uneasy silence. All eyes turned to them, curiosity etched on countless faces. "There's an issue," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "A group is planning to close down the shelters next month. It's part of a new initiative they're pushing through at the city council." Michael felt his heart tighten. "What do you mean? Why would they do that?" The room felt suddenly smaller, each breath tighter in his lungs. "Budget cuts," she replied, shaking her head. "They think that if they close a few of the smaller shelters, they can allocate the funds to the larger ones. The bigger ones can't handle the overflow, though. People will end up on the streets, Michael." Her words hung in the air like a burden, heavy and oppressive. Tom and Sarah had stepped closer, their expressions shifting from eagerness to distress. "Is that true? How did you find out?" Tom pressed, pushing back against the reality settling in. "I have a friend on the council. He told me the proposal is already drafted. They'll vote soon. If we don't act fast, our plans, everything we're trying to do, will be for nothing," Maria said, her eyes wide with urgency. Michael felt a swell of anger rise within him. "We need to fight this. We can't just sit back and let it happen." But beneath the bravado, he felt the creeping doubt return, gnawing at his confidence. What could they really do? "Maybe we could organize a protest," Sarah suggested, her voice gaining strength. "Gather the community. We could show how important these shelters are to everyone." Michael nodded, the idea sparking a flicker of hope. It was a good start, a way to channel the fear into action. But even as he agreed, another thought nagged at him. What if it doesn't work? What if we rally people, but it's too late? What if they're already set on closing them? Maria reached out, squeezing his arm. You're not alone in this, Michael. We have a community, a family, who cares. If we stand together, we can make them listen. Her words warmed him, igniting a spark of belief. He scanned the room, taking in the faces of those around him, people willing to fight for the cause they believed in. A wave of resolve swept through him. Okay, he said, feeling adrenaline spike through his veins. Let us do this. We'll plan the protest, and we'll spread the word. This is bigger than just us. The group began to buzz with renewed energy, plans forming and ideas flowing like a current. Michael felt his desire to lead taking shape, fears dissipating as he found his footing. For the first time, he sensed an undeniable connection, a pulse of hope drumming louder with each word shared, but just as they set about drafting their campaign, the door swung open, and an imposing figure walked in. Councilman Harris, the very person whose decisions could threaten everything they stood for. The gathered group fell silent again, a hush falling over them. Harris's eyes scanned the room before locking onto Michael's. I heard there's a meeting happening here today, he said, a smirk on his lips. I hope you're not planning anything too ambitious. Michael's heart raced. This wasn't just a confrontation, it felt like a showdown. He felt the weight of the moment, a chance to defend everything he had committed to, everything they were fighting for. Councilman, we need to talk, he said, stepping forward. About the shelters. Before Michael could finish, Harris raised a hand, cutting him off, but the spark of defiance had ignited with the group behind him. Michael took a deep breath, ready to stand his ground. What would Harris reveal? Would they stand up against the council or back down? It felt like everything hinged on the words that were about to unfold. Enough, Harris said, his tone laced with an arrogance that made Michael's skin crawl. You've stepped into a political storm, young man, and it's not going to go the way you think. The group behind Michael shuffled nervously, some casting glances at one another. Michael could feel the tension in the air, thick and electric. He didn't want to back down, but doubt crept in like smoke. Had they underestimated the councilman's power? Respectfully, sir, Michael began, taking another step forward, ignoring the prickle of fear at the back of his mind. We're not going to let you. Just let me stop you there, Harris interrupted, his eyes narrowing. Your little protest will change nothing. You think the council cares about the noise you make? They care about money. And trust me, dozens of shelters are on the chopping block, and this time, you win. Michael's gut twisted. He glanced at Maria, who stood gripping the table, her eyes reflecting his fear. Tom and Sarah exchanged worried looks. No one wanted to hear this, but they had to. They needed to understand what they were truly up against. With a sudden burst of courage, he shouted, You may think that, but we're going to show you how important these shelters are. We're not going to sit back and do nothing. You might have power in your corner, but we have the community. The atmosphere shifted, a wave of energy blooming. Michael could feel the warmth of unity igniting the room. People began to murmur affirmations, rallying behind him. They needed Harris to understand. This wasn't just about shelters, it was about lives, futures, and the hope that existed within their community. Harris's smirk faded. He leaned in, eyes glistening with disdain. You think they care about your little families sleeping in those shelters? They don't, and neither do I. The world doesn't stop for your idealism. Each word felt like a slap in the face, but it fueled Michael's fire. He wasn't going to let the councilman's words crush them. They had come too far, fought too hard, and had something bigger than a single man's opinion driving them. Your arrogance only makes us stronger, Maria said, stepping up beside Michael with her head held high. The shelters are more than buildings. They're homes, they're safety. And we have every right to fight for our community. Tom and Sarah took a step forward, standing shoulder to shoulder with their friends. Michael felt emboldened by their solidarity. You can try to shut us down, but we won't be silenced, Tom declared. We'll make sure everyone knows what you're doing. Is that so? Harris said, the tip of his voice a dangerous whisper. Be careful what you wish for. With that, he turned on his heel, striding toward the door with a final look over his shoulder. I'll be watching. You want to play in the big leagues, you best be ready for the consequences. As the door thudded shut, silence fell, each person absorbing the gravity of that exchange. Michael felt his heart racing, adrenaline pumping through him. They were up against the wall, but somehow, it felt like they had a shot. Okay, Maria piped up, her voice strong. We need a plan, and we need it fast. Can we gather people tonight? Absolutely, Sarah said, her excitement infectious. We'll spread the word, get everyone involved. The media might want to cover this too, Tom added, his own determination shining through. Suddenly, amidst the planning, a thought struck Michael like a lightning bolt. What if there was more to Harris's plan? Could the councilman be hiding something even worse? Wait, he said, gripping the edge of the table as an idea began to unfurl. We need more than just a protest. We need dirt on the council. We need to find out what they're really up to. As heads nodded in agreement, Michael felt the spark of a real mission. They were no longer just fighting for the shelters, they were on the cusp of uncovering a deeper truth that could change everything. But what if they stumbled onto something that put them in threat of even more danger? The stakes were higher than ever, and the fight was just beginning. The days surged into early morning sunshine as a whirlwind of activity became routine. Michael poured himself into the campaign with a fervor he hadn't felt before. Meetings were filled with brainstorming, planning rallies, and connecting with the community. More and more people began to come forward, voices empowered by a shared passion. It felt like a groundswell of momentum. But even amidst the excitement, doubt crept in. Would they truly make a difference? The voices of opposition echoed in the back of his mind, wrapping around his worries like thorns. Yet at night, when he rested, the faces of the people they aimed to help flickered in his mind, the child whose family might find refuge in a shelter, the single mom struggling to survive. Those images bolstered his heart, tightening his grip on hope. With every new face joining their cause, Michael felt the love of family and community pumping through his veins. Tom stood proud by his side, blending the lessons he learned as a teacher with newfound activism. Sarah's energy perfectly poised between grounding and liberating was a beacon. They were each other's anchors, holding tight when uncertainties threatened to pull them away. As they planned the protest, tension swirled through the air. The day arrived, bright and warm, with a sky painted in unreal shades of blue. Thousands flocked to the square, brandishing signs that declared, "Shelters save lives. And don't cut the safety net." The palpable energy electrified Michael, his heartbeat echoing the chants reverberating from the crowd. Then came the moment of truth. As they stood at the podium, facing the audience, Michael caught wind of Councilman Harris lurking near the edges of the crowd, his demeanor stoic and watchful. Michael felt a rush of adrenaline collect in his chest. Despite the unease, hope surged. "Today, we make a choice," Michael shouted, his voice ringing over the gathering. "We fight not just for shelters but for every soul in need. Together, we can be the voices for the voiceless." Cheers erupted like fireworks, each one amplifying his courage. But as the words flowed from him, he glimpsed Harris shifting, mulling over the gathering like a predator assessing his prey. In that moment, the unified hearts of the crowd mirrored the purpose burgeoning fiercely within him. Each person there wasn't just a statistic. They were stories, echoes of families intertwined, desperate yet hopeful, and in those faces lay a fierce determination that lit a bond unbreakable. As thunderous applause thundered behind him, a spark ignited in Michael. "But it isn't just about today. After this, we will continue to shine a light on the injustices our people face. We will not be silenced." The crowd roared again, and Michael knew they were turning the tide. The moment hung in the air like a held breath. Harris clenched his jaw, watching intently as Michael became a force of nature. Then, in the heartbeat of realization, the councilman stepped forward. Enough. This is a spectacle, nothing more. You think this will change anything? Maybe you're just wasting everyone's time. His challenge cut through the crowd, an anchor of doubt amid buoyant hope. A hush fell over the people, as if the air itself was holding its breath. But Michael felt the gathering strength within the multitude. I believe real change comes from standing together. You can doubt us, councilman, but we are a family fighting for our community. We will not let you dismantle our safety. His voice soared, gaining strength as he locked eyes with Harris, refusing to back down in the face of opposition. The crowd erupted, shaking the very concrete beneath their feet, augmented by renewed determination. And amidst the noise, a realization settled in Michael: the moment wasn't just political, it was familial. It was a quiet promise woven through love, understanding, and the collective yearning for brighter futures. The protest transformed into a rallying point, an ember that flared bright in the hearts of many. And as the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in colors of fire, a sense of clarity washed over Michael. They weren't merely fighting for shelters, they were advocating for unity, for families gaining their voice back. In the days that followed, momentum sustained itself, newspapers began taking notice, stories weaving through the community networks. And amidst it all, the bonds between Michael, Tom, and Sarah solidified, their differences morphing into strengths that extended effortlessly in support of one another. As the larger fight unfolded before them, Michael recalled the quiet moments shared, the laughter mingling with the heaviness. They found a renewed sense of family, their struggles woven together like threads of a strong tapestry. As they worked tirelessly to forge connections, even Councilman Harris began to feel the push of public sentiment shifting, the weight of community asserting itself against the tide of his indifference. Finally, at a crucial city council meeting, the battle culminated. They stood shoulder to shoulder, a united front in the face of politics. Harris stood at the podium, eyes narrowed as he faced the overflow of hope emanating from the crowd. The chamber roared in charged emotion, a collective pulse that resonated deep through the walls, refusing to be ignored. Michael stepped forward, locking eyes with Harris once more, knowing now what they all stood to lose. We will not shy away from speaking our truth. Together, we have the courage to confront fear, to protect our most vulnerable, and to rewrite the narrative surrounding community, care, and families. Moments later, disbelief washed over him, smothered by a euphoric realization. As they clapped and cheered, the councilman's resolve cracked, exposing a tremor of uncertainty in his voice. In that pivotal moment, Michael felt the transformative power of hope shaping their legacy, an irrevocable force connecting both him and Sarah, showcasing the strength blossomed through vulnerability. The journey had begun not just for families in need, but for them as a family, learning, growing, and rallying together in the face of change. They had embraced the unknown, linked by love, armed with a purpose that would echo far beyond just a battle. This wasn't just a victory, this was a transformation, a chance to redefine who they would be, both as individuals and as a community. As the waves of applause washed over them, Michael realized, the time had come to write a new story. One that doggedly pursued hope against adversity. One laid out with the profound understanding that pursuing dreams often meant embracing the imperfections nestled within the human spirit. So hand in hand, riding the current of change, one question flew through Michael's mind: would they continue to fight together against all odds? He believed so, because this was their moment. Pilot your ship to victory, take that leap of faith. Don't pass up this chance to grow, inspire, and create a legacy. Stand strong alongside family, community, and purpose, because together, anything is possible. Now, if you felt the gravity of this journey, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and comment your reactions and feelings about this emotional ending.